had this 21mm PWK China knockoff on my 50, 41 or 2 miles an hour. I mean, it ran, and it ran fast, but I wanted to do more than run fast. I wanted to run good down low. Wasn't happy with the way it worked down low. And we're going to save that for when we put the big bore kit in and get some more mods going, because I know it works when it's an 80cc. It's almost 22mm. It's just too big. So I want to go to a smaller carburetor because this thing's running so rich. And I've got it lean down as far as I can go on that needle, and the pilot jet's pretty darn lean too. And it just doesn't take off that well. The 50 valve on the intake side is 18.5mm. So the carburetor on it suited pretty well. The stock CVK, I think 18.8mm. So the size is good. It's just the CVK is not really a performance carburetor. Being constant velocity and all, you don't control the slide. It does.
38's pretty consistent there.
They say to stay within 1mm of your intake valve, so anywhere between 17 and 19. So I think I want to go with a 19mm carb. Nibbi seems pretty popular. I might get a Nibbi. I've never had one before. Nibbi makes a PWK, but it only goes down to 24mm. They make an FCR carb with 36mm for its smallest size. The only carb that's in that 17 to 19 range is the PE. The Nibbi PE carb, and I think I can actually go faster with the smaller carburetor. So we're going to put a Nibbi 19mm on here and drop down 2mm and see if that's true. We got the carburetor that I'm going to use. Well, it's a 49cc, a Nibbi. The Nibbi 19mm PE. Yeah, I know it's supposed to be black and red, but I saved a lot of money by getting all silver. Ooh, it's got the carburetor. It's got like some jets in it. It's got some more stuff. Call that case candy. Oh, hell yeah, it's got a sticker. Gotta love that. Oh, it's got some more stickers, even cooler. Might have to put those on my bike. And it's got the little chart that shows you where the air screw adjusts, what throttle position, where the idle or the main jet comes on, where the pilot jet, the needle jet lies. This is a really good chart to have. And you can adjust your carburetor using that chart. Looks like the perfect carburetor. What the Sam hell is this? That's not right. Looks like it bolts onto a faucet. It doesn't go on a freaking GY6. So we need an intake to get this crazy looking thing to our GY6. Standard Nibbi mounting should be 48. Yep, 47.9, 48. 48mm is your standard Nibbi mounting. The standard GY6 mounting, 50 or 150. Some people call it 45, some people call it 44. But if you see 45 or 44, it's the right one. This would be a useless intake to use. That's the intake on your 50. And the reason it's useless is we went to a 19mm carburetor to flow more air. Well, this thing has a hole that's 15mm. That's not going to do us any good. That's restricted. I want to get rid of that altogether. Nibbi makes intake manifold that replace this, and they're on their website. They've got a few different choices. Also, you can just get the cheap GY6 intake manifold like I've got. That's a dime a dozen on eBay and Amazon, and that's what I'm going to use. They come with the rubber tube like this. It's like 31. This part here is 33mm. Gives you anywhere between about 30 and 35mm you can put on there and usually get it to clamp down good. But you can take that off or put it on, either or. So if we use that manifold, we need to get from this carburetor to that somehow. The GY6 stuff that we're all used to slides on, it's smooth. Now we got this thing that bolts on. Thanks to Wes Braswell and Mark Cabe for hooking me up with the knowledge on how to do this to get this to fit my GY6 intake manifold. They have adapters. On the Nibbi website too, there's several ways to skin this cat. This is not the only way. There's a lot of ways to skin it. You can get the Nibbi adapter, the Nibbi intake manifold, or you can get the GY6 intake manifold. Nibbi makes several adapters, but they don't really say that they're for this. That's what makes it confusing. So you feel like you're guessing. Wes and Mark told me the right ones. And so there's two different ones you can get. One looks more traditional with the tube and the two bands like this one. And it has a metal piece. But I'm going to try this one. They haven't tried yet, just out of curiosity. And this adapter is a one-piece rubber adapter, so it's a little bit shorter. This needs to fit into my GY6 intake manifold, and that opening is 32.7, so that's perfect. It's also got the 48mm female threads, so it should mount right to this. The only thing I didn't know about was O-ring to O-ring. Do I take an O-ring out, or do I leave the O-ring in and go O-ring to O-ring? These O-rings aren't identical sizes. This one's just a tad skinnier and a tad bigger around
than that one. So I can't use one O-ring to fit into both grooves. But if I go O-ring to O-ring, I think I'm going to create an airtight seal. So this is made to go onto a manifold with studs, and I guess the nut goes on right here. The problem is I can't fit this screw in here. It hits that. See, it still hits it. So I can't get that in there. I should have listened to Wes and went with the other intake manifold. Well, now we know. I'm gonna make it work though.
You're gonna need a throttle cable. It's gonna look like your regular throttle cable on this end. Here's like the standard GY6 throttle cable you have, and what you're gonna want, the throttle cable that ends like this with the little side on it. So anything like that says Mikuni, Nibbi, Kian, all the same. That's the standard. Get about a 76 to 78 inches long. I don't know why these Nibbis are so popular. It's a very old school carburetor. It looks like the carburetor was on an XR100, like in the late 70s, early 80s. So it came with a 98 jet in it, and the kit came with a 100, and then a 92 and a 95. I'm gonna start with a 92, because that's my leanest one. Now I've got leaner ones of these. I've got a drawer full of jets. I can definitely find a leaner jet if I need to, but I want to see what the stock kit came with, if I can tune it from there. So I'm going to start with that 92 and go up with what they gave me. The pilot jet in it's a 32, and it's got a 30 in the bag, so you can go leaner. I think I might go ahead and start lean. I'm going to start with the 30. Speaking of the pilot jet, the jet's on the air side, not the fuel side. That controls how much air is going into the mixture for idling. It's got this tip over drain valve. That's probably that hole right there under the float bowls. So if it tips over, fuel goes out there. Enriching jet, that's most likely that one right there. Pilot jet, and your emulsion tube. Well, the needle set actually very rich. Second to the lowest clip. So that's the second to the highest position the needle can be at. I'm going to go ahead and lean that out one clip position. So I'm leaning everything out. You can always go richer. I like to start in one direction. So I just move one direction and see if it gets better or worse. So this is old school, back when throttle cables were shorter. I'll make sure I've got control of the idle. And it looks like I do. That's coming down and that's going up. I go full throttle and it does not come up all the way. So I don't have full throttle. I got too much slack in this throttle, so I'm going to take some of that out so I can lengthen the cable. Some cables have mid-cable adjusters. This one does not. So if you're getting a Nibbi, you might want to get the cable with the adjuster. And I'm going to add one of these. It's like a little spacer you can add. It'll fit in here like this, like that. So now that's part of the cable. Then same thing, the cap, the spring. And that's going to take away a lot of that cable slack. It feels about perfect, and it looks like we've got, see, full throttle opening all the way now. So it should be. But you don't want it so tight that you're pulling this slide up with the cable like that. You want to make sure that slide is controlled by this idle adjuster. Still have slack in the cable, so we're good, and I can pull it all the way up. That's the two things we're looking for. Okay, this is pretty cool. This is what I've always dreamed about. A bike with a tire so fat it stands up on its own with no kickstand. If I could take this kickstand off and just pull up and get off the bike and walk away, I would like that. Got it on, it fits good, clears everything. It sits real nice. Notice the idles on the other side of the engine. What the hell? So I gotta reach around behind the filter back there and adjust the idle, and this thing better perform good. And that is a 45 millimeter air filter. I happen to have one on hand, so I'll just use that one. Prime the system. There goes the fuel. Looking for any leaks.
If you want to know how to install one of these electric pumps, just check out the link in the description.
None so far. Like the fuel is stopped, so the float bowl filled up and it stopped the fuel. That's good news. This thing's ready to run. That seems to be warmed up pretty good. You gotta put your hand by this hot exhaust pipe to adjust the idle. Well, the air-fuel mixture screw is also over here. That sucks. That's gonna be hard to adjust. And the drain for the float bowl is over here. Those are all bad positions. They came with a left and a right carb. That got worse. Let's go back out. Got better. Let's go out again. I've already got the smallest pilot jet in it. I have to come out too far. It means I need more air because I've got too much fuel going to it. The fuel comes in the pilot jet, probably about right there. So it feels sluggish off the throttle, right there. If I just stab it, it'll die. I don't know if that's lean or rich, honestly. I've got the needle right in the middle. And I'm gonna go one way with it, see if it gets better. If it doesn't, I'm gonna go the other way with it. But I think that's that needle. Okay, I got this extra long screwdriver so I don't burn my hand. I'm 2.5 turns out on that, and that gives me my best idle. Anything past that, it doesn't change. So I'm guessing I've got it all the way open. Let me know if I'm doing this right. So I'm requiring too much air. That means I've got too much fuel going in, and I would need a leaner pilot jet. I took the carb back out. I leaned out that pilot jet to a 28. And it seems about right, because right now the highest idle was 1.5 turns out, so that seems perfect. I lowered the needle jet one more clip, so I've got it the second clip from the top, and I think I went the wrong way on that one. It seems like it got worse, that stall whenever I first take off. It seems like it did worse. It feels pretty good, but if I just stab the throttle, it dies. So we're gonna change that. But for this test, I went ahead and ran it. I did not bog down, so I put the next step bigger main jet in it. That's a 95. So I went from a 92 to a 95. I'm gonna try that before I change that needle jet again. I want to run this same road that I've been running on these tests with the CVK. Let me reset my data here. Looks like I'm clear. There we go. Another moped rider. I'm gonna give him a wave. Look like a Suzuki Bergman. I've got the cam in here, and with the cam and the CVK, I did 38. We're gonna see what I get on this baby right here, the PE Nibbi. About 8,300 RPM. There's 38 miles an hour. 8,400 RPM. So right now it's a tie game. I've got the right bike for this crossing. Yeah, so tie game. The Nibbi and the CVK about the same. Let me see what it did. 38, we got a 0 to 30 in 16.6. 8 the mile, 19 seconds. That's about the same. Let's go back and look at the CVK. Oh, we had a 13.9. So it got worse. The 8 mile got worse too. I mean, it runs good, but it's about like a peak. It's about like the CVK right now. I wouldn't consider it an upgrade. We're gonna do some more tuning on it and see if I can get it dialed in better. And the CVK was, remember, 18.8 millimeters, and this one's 19. Now my CVK times are pretty good because I don't run my CVK with this crappy stock intake manifold that's only 15 millimeters. That CVK was 18.8, so I run it with this GY6 manifold, the same one I'm running with this Nibbi. So now I'm going to go to a 98 on that main jet, from a 95 to a 98. It wasn't bogging on the 95, so we'll keep going up till we get bogged and come back down. But I'm getting that real slow 0 to 30, and I'm blaming that on the needle jet. So I'm going to go the opposite way on the needle jet. One clip richer than middle. Now the Nibbi's a funny carburetor. When you look in that intake, that actually measures at 22 millimeters. The way they're made, I was looking online on the website about them, the 19 millimeters is down inside there more. They kind of almost port match them already. They have it get bigger where it goes into the flange. So you can't really measure the outside of a Nibbi and get the millimeters of the carb is. It is 19 down inside there. I went fatter on that needle jet, so richer. And it seems to have solved that problem. Yeah, that works a lot better. So I was too lean on that needle jet. I also went to a 98 on the main jet. Now I'm actually back where the damn thing came. This is exactly how Nibbi sent it to me. Except they did have the bigger 32 pilot jet in it, but I'm running a 28, so. But that's not gonna make a difference in how it runs up here. That's just for starting and idling. Yeah, this feels a lot better. When you get your Nibbi, don't go changing it, just put it in.
Gonna do a top speed run with this 98 jet in it. This road here is 45 miles an hour, so that means people do 50 on it, which means I'm right in the way. I gotta wait till everyone clears out. I'll pull over in the grass and wait till there's a big old gap, and then I'll go. I got 39. There's 40. Hell yeah, there's 41 miles an hour. 92.40 on the RPM. See if I can get to the gas station. 9,300 RPM. Yeah, this carb is dialed in, I think. Now it's a 95-degree day. This shit, there's 42 miles an hour and it's super hot. $2.24. Suck on that, Joe Biden and big oil. Ha ha. Can't catch me on my mad dog. So let me get like a 0 to 30 and an eighth a mile. Yeah, so that's a whole lot better. So now we're back to where we should be. 0 to 30 and 13.4. 8th mile, 18.6. We go back to the CVK. K was 13.9, so improvement there. 18.8, improvement there. Where we got 2/10 and 1/10. So it is an improvement, but we definitely got a way better top speed with the 42 miles an hour. So yeah, the Nibbi, we're good to go. I'm gonna keep it. Well, it's a 49cc. Whenever I finally big bore this thing, I'll go to the PWK, but until now, I'm liking this Nibbi. The Nibbi up to 42 miles an hour, if not faster than the PWK. You know, miserably hot day in Florida. Good news, good results. I use that till the bike gets bigger or faster, and I'm required to put the PWK 21 on for an upgrade. I hit 9,400 RPM on it, so that's pretty sweet. That means I can go ahead and probably do a gear up mod. I just happened to get this Polini Variator, 95 millimeter. We're gonna see what that does.